What is going on, guys? Gaston right here, and today I bring you the latest Canon announcement regarding the Canon EOS R5, a camera that is set to blow everyone's mind. So Canon finally had confirmed some of the specs that we have been covering in terms of rumors, and now we have confirmation. So pretty exciting news that I want to share with you guys right after the intro. And my name is Gaston, I'm a photographer from Miami. I do gear reviews, tutorials, and behind the scenes. So if you like the content that you see around here in this channel, consider subscribing and hit that notification button to be notified every time one of my videos goes up. I don't know if you guys are as excited as I am. I'm so excited! But the EOS R5 is a camera set to break a lot of boundaries. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is the announcement of the 7 lenses that they promised before that they were going to launch, and still confirmed that 7 new lenses are going to land in 2020. Also a few adapters. Now, Canon has already 9 lenses and a few adapters. Introducing 7 new lenses is going to make the R system a very robust system with a lot of options. Now, one of the things that I hope that Canon does is that they bring some primes such as f1.8, much smaller, lighter, and also much more affordable. I think that's going to be very much welcome, and I'm super excited to know what they have to bring in the lens department. All right, so the very first confirmation is that this camera is going to have a new sensor, and we expected that. This camera is going to do a lot of things that no other Canon camera is capable of doing. Now, we don't know exactly the megapixel of this sensor. It was said before in some rumor side that it was going to be a 45 megapixel. We also heard 85 megapixel. Actually, myself at a Canon event, I've heard from one of the reps that it was going to be an 85 megapixel. Now, Canon still doesn't want to talk about the megapixel count on this sensor, probably because they don't want to hit any of the manufacturers. Now, one thing for sure is that probably they're going to piss off Sony, and it could be that the sensor is a 65 megapixel just to piss them off. So let's wait and see, but new sensor arriving to the EOS R5. All right, and the EOS R5 is going to be a sport beast as well. This camera is going to be capable of shooting up to 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter silently, and also 12 frames per second with a mechanical shutter. So other cameras are doing this right now already, so it's good to know that this camera is going to have high burst capabilities. Kudos to Canon. Now, this has to be one of the most exciting announcements ever for Canon and for myself. One of the things that I never like about Canon cameras is that they didn't have embodied image stabilization, and that was one of the things that actually had me stop from using Canons when I actually switched to Sony and I started doing videos like this one. So vlogging and stuff like that, you're either going to use a gimbal or you're going to use a camera that has great image stabilization. Now, this camera for the first time is going to have sensor image stabilization, IBIS. No electronic stabilization, but sensor stabilization. Now, the great part about this camera is that it's going to allow you to tandem the stabilization from the body with any lens that also feature image stabilization. We're talking about EF lenses and RF lenses. So now, finally, once and for all, I'm gonna be able to rely on this camera and ditch my gimbals to shoot steady videos. That is pretty exciting for myself, and I'm sure you're also excited. Now, Canon talked a lot about big improvements, and this camera is going to have humongous improvements, especially in the autofocusing department, because this camera is going to feature the same autofocus system found in the 1DX Mark III. Now, the 1DX Mark III has a new revamped version of the dual pixel autofocus, and now they're going to actually bring the same technology to the R5. Now, one of the cameras company out there with the best autofocusing system, in my opinion, is Sony, and Canon tried to bring this up with the R, and it kind of like didn't work the same way. So I'm hoping that the new autofocusing system on the R5 is going to be something on par with the Sony. Now, that's going to get me really excited and shooting more with my Canon glass. Now, remember when the EOS R was introduced and everyone found out that it had only 1 card slot? The whole internet went banana and crazy. Well, this camera is going to have 2 card slots, one of them being a CF Express card and the other one being an UHS 2 SD card. So plenty of option and storage capacity right now, and be ready to shell out a pretty penny for these cards because they're really expensive. Improved operability, and this is something that Canon talked about in this latest announcement. So the camera is going to have the great ergonomic that we find in the EOS R, because the camera look alike. We may see maybe some button relayouts, although in some of the pictures that I saw on the internet, specifically yesterday, the buttons seem to be located almost in the same spot as the EOS R. So this one says that it's going to have improved operability. Probably the menus are going to be redesigned, although the Canon menu is one of the best menus by far. So just to think that we're going to get something a little bit better than on the EOS R gets me really excited, because I think that camera has great ergonomics, great operability, and great menus. So we would have to wait and see. All right, so are you ready for this one? We're gonna be talking about the confirmed AKG capabilities of this camera, because for the first time, a camera this big is going to be able to do AKG video. Not only that, you ready for that one aboard?
Yeah.
Okay, check this out. So it's gonna do AKG video capture internally, raw, up to 30 frames per second. Boom, Sony. Can you believe that? A little camera like that doing all that stuff? Amazing. Now, it's going to do a 422 10-bit Canon log H.265 and also 422 10-bit HDR PQ H.265. Yeah. Also, all these options are going to be available with no crop. Now, remember when the Canon EOS R was introduced and we found out that we have a 1.7 crop? Remember that one? Well, people were very upset because of that. 1.7 crop in 4K. Now, this camera is going to do 8K, no crop from one day to another. Well, I mean, a couple of years. So no crop in the camera. Also, check this one out. We're going to be utilizing all the focusing modes. So we're going to have face tracking detection, human eye out of focus, animal eye out of focus. And this is going to happen in all the 8K modes. Now, it's going to do all the stuff like I mentioned before internally. I can see a lot of cameras manufacturers going back to the drawing table, grabbing and pulling their hairs, kind of like I did already, pulling their hairs and rethinking their next camera, because this is going to set, a new path in camera manufacture. Now, Canon actually was one of the latest one introducing 4K, right? The EOS R had 4K, and they say, you know what? We're just gonna skip 6K. Let's just go with 8K raw and really just boom, drop the mic right there and be the company that we used to be once again. So 8K recording is going to be available. Now, one of the things that we don't know is how long we're gonna be able to record in 8K. Is it going to be 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 1 minute, 50 minutes? We don't know. One of the things that we know is that this camera is gonna need some sort of cooling system or some improvement in order to record in 8K, because that's gonna most likely produce a lot of heat. Now, one of the things that we've heard is that the camera actually has some redesign of their components to allow better airflow and really cool off the camera internally. So I don't think we're gonna see fans in this camera unless someone knows if it's gonna have a fan or not. But the camera is going to have some sort of improvement designed to actually assist with airflow. So great news, 8K recording now is a thing of the present. What do you think about that? 8K raw. Now let's talk about the things that are not that important, okay? So we're gonna be talking about the 4K, because Canon is also bragging here with the 4K. Now the 4K is gonna be able to do it up to 120 frames per second. Now it's not gonna be raw. I don't know why, because they could have probably, or we don't know yet. But they say that it's going to be 4K video internally and externally, up to 120 frames per second. So finally, we're gonna have that super high quality slow motion here. Now, it's gonna do all that stuff once again, and again, boom, mic drop again. It's gonna do it with no crop. It's gonna do it with all the out of focusing modes. It's going to do it in all the 4K modes that the camera is going to have, and like I mentioned before, internally and externally. They were really going off with this camera, and now we can understand why Canon was so silent for so long. And this is the result of it. They were actually working to reinvent the camera formula per se, but 4K, 8K, I mean, this camera seems to be the camera to have. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the confirmations that they haven't confirmed, and that is actually the release date, the price of the camera. We don't know when they're gonna be releasing the camera. They're hinting that this camera is gonna be released in 2020. Now, with all the things that are happening with Canon factories with the coronavirus situation, we know that some factories were shut down and we don't know if they actually reopened, but they are saying that the camera may drop in 2020. I think that if it does, it's gonna be by the end of the year. Now remember that this camera was supposed to be ready for the Olympics in Tokyo. Well, the Olympics got canceled, and therefore a lot of things got canceled. So If Canon happened to release this camera this year, 2021 is going to be one of the best years for Canon, because not only this camera brings great features, but it brings a new revolution, in my opinion, in what a camera is capable of doing. Now, the other thing is that we don't know about the dynamic range of this camera. We're assuming that it's going to be something on par with other cameras that they have. I mean, could it be 15? Could it be 14.5, 15.5? We don't know, but I'm assuming that this camera is going to have great dynamic range. Now, the other thing that we don't know is the price of this camera. We said in another videos, we think that this camera had to sit around the $3,500 ballpark. If they can manage to do that and release the camera with all the features, and the features can live up to the hype, then boy, Canon, that's your year. And guys, this is it for today, so I hope you had enjoyed the new announcement from Canon. We are pretty excited right here at Gaston Shutters, and if you like the content that you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification to be reminded every time a new video goes up. And until then, guys, see you later. Boom, that's the Canon mic.